We're so happy to have so many of you joining us here today for our session on America's historical newspapers. My name is Catherine Bergerson. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Marketing here at NewsBank. And I'll be joined today by two of my colleagues, Matt Stawicki and Deborah Scott. You may also hear us reach out to Parker Pogue. He's working behind the scenes, so if we have any technical issues, you may hear us call out to him to jump in. As we get started, I just want to let you know that today's session is being recorded, and we will send out a copy of the presentation to you tomorrow via email. Also, all of our contact information, the resources that we share with you today, they're all available in the handout section. You just look for the gray bar that says handouts. You can download those at any time. In the next 30 to 45 minutes, it's our goal to share with you an overview of America's historical newspapers' rich content collection and some updated features. We'll share best practices to engage teachers and faculty and students across a variety of curricular areas. Share tips and tools to help you connect with teachers, faculty, and classrooms, and give you a tour around our resource center, our video tutorials, our new LMS integrations, some product graphics, and more. We'll talk about the many ways that we're here to support you, and we will have time for questions and answers throughout the presentation. So please feel free to use the question box and submit that at any time. We'll do our best to get to all of them. We do have a big group today, and we'll do our best to get to all of your questions. So please do type them into that question box. And if we can't get to them today, we do commit to getting back with you in the next few days. So if that sounds good to everyone, let's dive right in. I'd like to start with a quick poll to find out a bit more about the group that's joining us today. If you could please share with us which most closely describes your role at your school or district. Perhaps administration, or as a curriculum director, librarian, teacher or faculty, or perhaps it's something else. And again, you can use that question box to type it in, and we'd love to get to know you. Give you just a few minutes, seconds here to respond. And we can see the responses are coming in. Parker will give it just a few more seconds. And let's close out the poll and take a look at our results. We can see that we have 16% as in a curriculum director role, 32% librarians, and 12% teacher or faculty member, and 40% others. Well, that's great. Please let us know that other category so we can best tailor future programs to our audiences. So now that we know a bit about you, I'd like to share a brief background on NewsBank. We are a leading news and information provider to research institutions, schools, and libraries. And I'm proud to share with you that this fall, actually this month, we are celebrating our 49th anniversary. What we do, we aggregate news from around the world to bring you and your teachers and students credible, vetted, global news sources, many of which are unique to NewsBank, and they're all available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from any device. Today, the reason you're all here is to focus on America's historical newspapers, and to show us around the resource and its valuable content is Matt Stawicki, who's the Vice President of Sales for K12 schools and community colleges. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Catherine, and thanks everyone for joining us. We really do appreciate you giving us the time to show you this great resource. Parker, if you could, beautiful, move to the next slide. So the core four, what we're going to show you today is America's historical newspapers. However, our premier product, Access World News, we did do a webinar on that already, so that is available on demand, as is Black Life in America. We will be doing the Research Rocket, which is the resource that's geared towards the elementary students in November. And if you download the handouts, you'll be able to click on the on-demand links to view Access World News and Black Life in America at your leisure. With that, let's get started and get right into the historical newspapers. I'll stop sharing myself so I don't distract you, and get right into the historical newspapers. Let me share my desktop here. And so what you're looking at here is the landing page for our historical newspapers. Okay. This resource is made up of approximately 448 historical newspapers from across the United States. They range in date from 1690, the oldest newspaper published in the United States, all the way through to 2000. And as you can see here, it's organized by era. So it highlights every major era in U.S. history and really does align with your typical U.S. history course. If you click on any one of these, you'll note you've got 3 columns of information. Government, military, political events, social, cultural issues, discoveries, inventions, and firsts. And all of these eras in history are organized exactly the same, as you can tell. If I go into any one of these, so for example, if I go into World War II, you'll note we've got those 3 columns of information, but this resource really is cross-curricular. It's not just about U.S. history. So example, here is John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. So if I wanted to get literary criticism about exactly what they thought about that work in 1939 when it was published, I could do so. Here's the arts. So we're supporting the arts with the musical Oklahoma. Civics and government. The United Nations was founded. And over here we've got science with the usher in of the nuclear era with the Manhattan Project. So as you can see, this really is a cross-curricular product that supports all different subject areas. Click on any one of these. So for example, if I click on the Battle of Midway, that will open up that specific timeline entry. In this case, I've got a summary right here where I can click and read more. So that's a secondary source written by our editorial team. That's followed by primary sources. So these are all articles that we've pulled to support this specific event in history. And then that's also followed with suggested searches in case you didn't find what you were looking for. Click on any one of these. So Battle of the Coral Sea, for example, and that will open up that document exactly the way it was printed and delivered that day. So in this case, this is being pulled from the Oregonian, May 9th, 1942. I've got a set of tools here for the user. So I can view more articles from this timeline entry, and you'll note it's highlighted, the one we're viewing right now. I can search this page or issue for more information. Now, the reason it says page or issue is right now we're looking at just this page of the newspaper. But you'll note here on the thumbnails and in the pull down, we've got the entire issue of the newspaper loaded. That's important because we're not just loading one article here. You're getting the classifieds, you're getting the cartoons, you're getting the advertisements. Everything that was published in that newspaper that day is here. I can get information on this specific article, and it's being pulled from page 1. I can create a citation. We've got EasyBib, RefWorks, and Noodle tools. So if you're using any of those citation tools, you can export to them. Here's an example of the MLA 8 citation, which I can highlight and copy and paste it anywhere I wish. I can email the information to somebody, so I can put who I want to send it to from me. If I want to put a message, I can hit send, and they'll get that. This collection of historical newspapers is all digital microfilm. So we give you a clip function, a tool that you can use to clip information off of the page. So, example is if I wanted to clip this map off of this page, I can select the clip function, print it, download it, or save it to Google. So I'm going to slide it over. I will size it, and I'll collect that caption, and now I can print it, download it, save it to my Google Drive. So I'll download it, and I can include the citation, and now that will download. So as you can see, it's clipping it off of the page right now, and it's actually creating a PDF for me. So you'll see here, we've got a nice clean PDF of that exact document now that I can include in my project when I return it into my teacher. So very, very easy and very clean to use. Again, we can print the information, the full page or a clip, download it, full page or clip, copy the link. So this is a Dora link. So by copying this link, I can put this into a lesson plan. I can put it up on a whiteboard. I can email it to a teacher or a student. When they click on it, it will always open up to this page in this case. For those of you that are using Google Classroom, this button probably looks familiar. So I can actually click on this, and if I were logged into Google Classroom, I could download this right into an assignment. Again, as I mentioned, we've got the full issue of this newspaper, so I can advance one page at a time. I can jump to a page this way, or I can use my thumbnails and jump to a page using my thumbnails. So as you can see, the timeline, very, very easy to use. If I didn't find what I was looking for, I can just simply click right back to Battle of Midway, come down and run one of these searches. So I'll run the search for Battle of Midway, and what that will do is that'll bring me specific articles around the Battle of Midway, and I've got filters here that I can use to further filter the data by location, by specific title name, by language, and so on. Those of you that use the Access World News, these filters I'm sure look very familiar. And when you click to open up an article, you'll see it opens it up directly into that same viewing pane that we just had, and it's highlighting some of the terms that were used to search. I'll go back to my timeline, and you'll see that they're all exactly the same. Okay. If I go back into World War II, one of the things I'd like to point out is that we actually create these timeline entries at the request of our customers as well. So if you're in an era in history looking for something and you didn't find it, you let us know what it is, and we can create that entry. An example of that is last year, one of our customers was doing a project on the girls' baseball league. So we created this entry for them. One of the other things we're doing right now is we're actually taking this summary and we're adding comprehension questions to the summaries. We've got about 50 or so of the timeline entries completed so far. The plan is to add them to all of the timeline entries, but that is quite a task because we have well over 1,500 timeline entries. But as you can see, there's that secondary source with the questions now. And then there's those primary sources. So we actually pulled the articles to support, in this case, the Women's Baseball League, and then the suggested searches. So using the timeline, as you can see, very, very easy to use. It doesn't matter what era of history you go into. They all work exactly the same. I'll pause there for right now and see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, that's a great opportunity. If you haven't answered or asked your question yet, now's a great time to enter it in. We do have a few that we'll start with as others come in. Let's see if there, and you may have covered this, but let's talk about it one more time. If there's a topic on the timeline that they don't find, how do they go about suggesting or getting that topic added?
Okay, great. So, example, if there's a topic here that they're looking for under the civil rights era, it doesn't matter what area it falls into. What you'll do is if you reach out to your customer service rep or your account executive, let them know that you're looking for a specific event that happened in 1959, for example. What that event is, send that to us via email. We'll get that into the hands of our editorial team, and they'll look at it. If they have more questions to really hone in better on exactly what you're looking for, they'll reach out to you via email, and then we'll create that timeline entry That takes about 3 weeks to a month because, again, we want to make sure we're pulling all the primary sources and so on to support exactly what you're looking for.
Excellent, thank you. And we have a question from a teacher that says, how do I access this resource?
Okay, if you're not already a subscriber, again, we would need to, if you just let us know to reach out to you, we can have our one of the account executives reach out to you. If you are a subscriber to it already, you should hopefully have a link to the historical newspapers. If you have Access World News and historical newspapers, which many of our users have, I'm just going to click back one real quick. You'll find from the Access World News page a link to the historical timeline. So you may have to go that way as well, but we can also provide you with a direct link to get right into this resource.
Thank you. And a question, does NewsBank have access to foreign newspapers, example, The Guardian or The Times, other foreign newspapers?
We do have foreign newspapers. However, this collection is strictly made up of U.S. newspapers. A lot depends on what you're looking to support. My assumption is you're probably thinking down the global history era, in which case it is tough to get information that's much older than really the 1600 time frame. It's just tough. It's hard to get information that way. This resource, however, does support global history as well. You will find things in here, for example, from the French Revolution and so on. And what it will do, it will give you basically a U.S. perspective on that event. And if you need more information on the other historical newspapers we have, again, let us know that and we can have somebody reach out to you because we have hundreds of different databases available.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, we will definitely reach out after and get you all the information that you need. That wraps up our questions for this section, Matt, if you'd like to continue.
Yes, great. So we looked at the timeline, but now you can also keyword search this collection. So by clicking this tab, you'll see it opens up my search bar where I can simply type in a term and get information on it, okay? So example might be, maybe I want to get information on the Spanish flu because I want to compare what's happening now. I'm going to put this in quotes as well. I want to compare what's happening with COVID, for example, to the Spanish flu. So I can type that term and you'll see here, I get a set of results. So what it did is it actually searched out that database and brought back just shy of 2,000 results. It automatically defaults to the newest, but I can resort it to oldest and best match. So example is if I click oldest, what that'll do is that'll resort my data for me. And you'll see here, I'm all the way back to 1805 on the Spanish flu. Okay. Now, this is where these filters come in handy. I want information on the Spanish flu, but maybe I want to key into a specific set of years. So here, as you can see, I can put in my own set of years. So I can go to a specific year, a range, I can go to a specific day, and so on. Okay. I can go to source type, but in this case, it's all newspapers. Here are my results by year. So if I were to click more options, what you'll see here is this is giving me my results by year. And I can resort my data. Okay, so I can get newest to oldest, but I can also use the scroll bar. Okay, so I can see here, something happened in 1976. 107 results there. So as you can see, it allows you to trend things over time. Oh, look at this, 1918, 735 results. Okay, so this allows you to really trend information over time. And if I wanted to look at just that year, I can simply click in it and apply. And now I've got my results on the Spanish flu only from 1918. Okay. And it's filtering everything else out for me. I can go to a specific source name. So if there's a specific title I'm looking for, I can do so. Again, this is pulling information from just the United States. So here, as you can see, I can go to a specific state to grab information as well. Okay, so it'll give you more information based on that specific state. I can go to specific language. Mainly the information in this collection is in English. However, you will show some Spanish as well. And then we do identify article types in some cases. We've actually clipped out the articles. So if I wanted to look at a cartoon on the Spanish flu, I could simply click and it's going to bring me to a cartoon, okay, around the Spanish flu, okay? So as you can see, it's easy to use these filters to get down to information, and it shows me what filters are applied, okay? I can simply click on one if I didn't want that specific result set. Once you get your information filtered down, again, you've got an article preview that will actually open that article up, and I can start reading it from there, okay? And clicking on it, of course, will open up that article so that I can get that information, in this case, around the Spanish flu, okay? So as you can see, now I can compare by just looking at what I'm getting on today's newspapers even, I can compare past to present. Compare and contrast the way the Spanish flu was managed versus the way COVID-19 is being managed. So very, very easy to do keyword searching, and you can search virtually any term you wish, and it will return a set of results. Question on the way that keyword searching works and any of the filters.
We do have a few questions. Is there a way to make best match the default search rather than oldest?
Unfortunately, the way the system defaults right away, it does default to newest, but simply clicking on best match. Okay, so race relations, for example, I'll do that search. It does move pretty fast to get me to best match. The issue I will explain with historical newspapers is they are digital images of historical newspapers. So although we're going to try and bring you to the best match possible, you may find it doesn't work the same exact way that a full text article is read because of the way you can narrow down information and search information on image edition newspapers versus best match.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any plans to move beyond 2000, perhaps to include 9/11?
Great question. That is on the list of things to do, is to go and expand the timeline past 2000. We are looking at that right now to try and determine what might be the best way to go about it, whether you do it 1 year or whether you do another decade. But it is something that's on the list of things to do. I unfortunately don't have a time frame on when that would occur, but it is being discussed.
Great, thank you. And if I have Access World News research collection, can I search the historical content, so this content along with the current content together?
Yes, you can actually. So I can give you a quick example. I'm just going to click NewsBank here, and that's going to bring me back. And what we can do is we can set your system up. As you can see right here at the top of my screen, it says Access World News Historical and Current. So now whatever I search is going to search both of those databases at once. So example is if I look for race relations, you're going to see I'm going to get a huge set of results on race relations right now. But what it's going to do, and it's easy to show you here, if you look at this time slider, I've got information from 1860 all the way through to present now on race relations. So now you can really do compare and contrast a whole new way. I can look at, for example, a specific city and see what they did 100 years ago versus today on race relations. So various ways you can do things. And again, if you want that set up, it's just a matter of reach out to our customer service or to your account executive. And for that matter, you can type a note in here about that, and we'll get in touch with you to get that set up for you.
Thank you very much, Matt. In the interest of time, we're going to move on. And if we weren't able to get to your question right now, if we have time at the end, we will certainly get to all of them, or we will follow up with you after the webinar. But now, thank you, Matt. I would like to introduce Deborah Scott. She's NewsBank's Senior Customer Engagement Representative, who's going to give us some tips and tools to support the curriculum needs of your school and some actionable ways that you can engage teachers and students with this and other NewsBank resources. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, Catherine, and hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today. Thank you for tuning in as we focus on reaching out to faculty and students to support classroom needs and promote information literacy. To that end, I would like to share some ideas about how schools can get the most value out of America's historical newspapers. As part of the NewsBank customer engagement team, I've assisted school and college libraries around the country and around the world with suggestions to promote database resources to students and faculty on library websites, in orientations, in school newsletters, and in learning management systems. So let's start by going to NewsBank's Marketing and Resource Center. You can easily go to NewsBank's website at www.newsbank.com and select the Marketing and Resource Center for K12 schools, which is under support. Here you can go directly to the resources to which your library subscribes. As you can see, there are many resources which can support the classroom needs of students from elementary through high school and college with current and historical news information. Now let's click on America's Historical Newspapers. And here we have an eye-catching graphic and description available for you to post on your library's homepage or on your resources page, or in guides created for specific teachers and projects. The next section contains guides, search tips, scavenger hunt, and how-to videos about using your NewsBank resources. Some of our schools will add these graphics or videos or a guide to their social media, or even weekly announcements and emails to faculty highlighting a resource of the month. Another way we've found of promoting this resource is the America's Historical Newspapers Scavenger Hunt. This is a fun educational way to get your students started exploring. It can be used in orientations and as a great introduction to the resource. A helpful tip we found when searching historical documents is using the language of the time. Our editors created this document that helps students understand different terms for topics they might be searching. It can be an interesting conversation starter with students leading into a discussion of historical newspapers. This can be posted in orientations and posted on classroom pages. The Marketing and Resource Center has a plethora of tutorial videos on how to use your resources. Here you will find a valuable how-to video for America's historical newspapers. It's less than 2 minutes long and can be embedded right on your website for easy access. The tutorial is also great for parents, as we know how important the parent's role is as a partner in their child's education. Many more short videos like this are available in the Marketing and Resource Center. In fact, today's webinar will be available under the On-Demand Webinar tab in the next few days, as Catherine mentioned earlier. The Marketing and Resource Center also has ideas for promoting your resources on social media. There are ready-to-use social media posts updated monthly by our ever-creative marketing team. Clicking on the monthly social media posts link here will allow you to add your name to the mailing list for new post ideas, mailed out monthly, as I mentioned earlier. As you know, when schools move to remote learning, the focus in many districts turned to learning management systems as a way for teachers to connect and interact with their students. NewsBank fully supports this move and can integrate with several discovery services and learning management systems. Integrating America's historical newspapers with your LMS allows for easier collaboration with teachers and more interaction with students. Our integrations feature single sign-on, embedding in class pages, and the ability to easily add articles, curated lists of sources, results lists, or just America's historical newspapers to a class, module, or assignment. The how-to guides and short videos shown here can be placed in a teacher resource area of the LMS and on your library page to encourage more collaboration. Next, we have a few examples of how schools and colleges around the world are showcasing their NewsBank resources as collected from interactions with our customer engagement team. A really big thank you to all the schools who allowed us to share their library web pages as examples of best practices. We've learned from many schools that posting the resource links with the product description in multiple places on your library website and also within your LMS helps promote student and teacher engagement. First up, we have the Media Center resources page from Wethersfield High School in Connecticut. They subscribe to 3 resources from NewsBank: America's Historical Newspapers, Black Life in America, and Research Rocket, and have placed their NewsBank resources under a bright banner with descriptions to make it easier for students and teachers to find the resources. This is important because different resources are used for different projects, and this allows students to go directly into the resource that fits their needs. Next, Beechwood High School in Ohio lists America's historical newspapers on their Media Center resources page. The librarian, Angela Maxwell, has shared with us that they use America's historical newspapers and NewsBank for their senior research project every year. Students need to choose an event, issue, or idea that made news in the past, and they connect it to an issue in society today. Matt's example on Spanish flu is a really good idea there. Our next example from Tallahassee Community College in Florida utilizes LibGuides on their public-facing library page. They highlight Americans' historical newspapers as a primary source for their U.S. history courses. In fact, one of their assignments is to find and analyze a primary source that will be used to support a larger research project. Students need to analyze their primary source by asking questions such as, who generated the source? What is their relationship to the event described? And what does this source demonstrate about American history? Your students will find NewsBank resources at the college level, so they won't have to relearn their research skills. Our customers have told us that America's historical newspapers supports research in a variety of subject areas such as U.S. history, language arts, historical fiction, African American studies, political science, and social studies. Last but not least, the Learning Commons at York Community High School in Illinois posts colorful graphics on their databases page as another way to engage teachers and students and remind them about the library's resources. The graphics can be placed on resource list pages, social media, and in emails to students and teachers and parents. As I mentioned earlier, another way to promote this resource is through social media. Here are 2 great examples from America's High School in Texas and Bronx Community College in New York, where they used the graphics from Marketing and Resource Center to create an eye-catching announcement which refers students right back to their library websites. These graphics can be used on your library website, in email newsletters to faculty, and on social media. Plus, the monthly ready-to-use social media post ideas document created by our marketing team provides more clever ideas for keeping your library resources top of mind for your students, faculty, and parents. I hope this sparked some ideas for ways to promote America's historical newspapers with your teachers and students. Our customer engagement team can help you with creating visibility and marketing America's historical newspapers so you can get the best value possible. We can provide professional development and individualized trainings for you and your teachers. We are also well-versed in several discovery and learning management systems and can help navigate setup, placement of America's historical newspapers, and all of your NewsBank resources in your school's LMS can bring resources even closer to teachers and students. And now I'll turn this back to Catherine for any incoming questions.
Wonderful. Thanks, Deborah. We do have a few questions, and actually you mentioned LMS at the end. can you link directly to an article, and what are the LMS platforms that we work with here at NewsBank?
Great questions. As Matt mentioned, every article in the database has a permalink, so those can be placed, captured easily and placed right into an assignment or a class page. The LMS integrations make that even easier. And we work with almost any LMS integration, either through an LTI or with customized URLs that make it much easier for your students and teachers. So just let us know if you have any further questions.
Excellent, thank you. And this question might actually be for Matt. It is talking about, and Deb, you mentioned it too, about historical terminology. Is there a way that you can look up perhaps flu and influenza at the same time? How does that work?
Yes, you can. The system, what you would have to do is use a linker in your search. So example is if I wanted to look up Spanish flu and influenza, the word "and" is my linker. So if you want me to illustrate that, you could share your let me share my desktop real fast, and I can give you a fast illustration on how that works, because there are multiple linkers that can be used. Okay, so an example here is I can type in that term Spanish flu that we searched earlier, and then I'm going to link that to the term influenza. Okay, now that linker there, and what that basically means is now the search is performing and it wants both of those terms in the results. Okay, so prior, when I typed in Spanish flu, I had about 2,000 results. You'll note here I've got just 799. Now, the other linker that you could use instead of the term "and," okay, would be the same search, but in this case with the term "or." So this means I want my results to kick back with the term Spanish flu or the term influenza. So in this case, now you'll note I get 357,000 results, because now I'm getting both of those terms in my result set. So using linkers, depending on how you use them, you can get more or less results and so on. And you can use as many linkers as you wish. I hope that answers and helps out your question.
Thank you very much, Matt. And thank you, Deborah. And we have just one other, more of a comment than a question, but I'd like to share it with you. Thank you, Jessica, for your compliment on our activities that are in the Marketing and Resource Center. She says she loves them and is asking if we have a scavenger hunt for Black Life in America. We don't at this time, but it's a great idea and something that we could add to our production list. And so we will reach back out when we have an activity to support Black Life in America. And if you have any other questions, please type them in, or if you think of something after the webinar is over, don't hesitate to reach out. But as we wrap up today, I really want to build upon Matt and Deborah's comments about NewsBank's customer service and our support. It is truly unparalleled. Today's presentation is just one example of the ways that we're here to support you. We know that staying on top of visibility and staff training is a lot. So if you have new library staff perhaps, or teachers or faculty that would like a refresher on how to use NewsBank resources, we invite you to set up a complimentary customized in-service. You can reach out to us and we'll be happy to set it up at a mutually convenient time. Also, if you have any technical issues or questions, our customer service team is here and ready to assist. As I mentioned at the beginning, these slides, all of the links, our contact details are in the handout section in the gray toolbar. If you download the presentation, all of those links are live and they'll take you right to the web page, so you don't have to navigate around and search for them. They'll link right there. And if you have any trouble accessing that, let me know and I will be happy to send it over to you. Finally, I want to mention that we do have one more webinar coming up this fall to round out our core 4 collection. It's on Research Rocket, which is a beginning research tool designed for elementary and middle school students. It's Tuesday, November 9th at 3 p.m. So we hope that you will save the date or even register today when you download the PowerPoint. And if you know of someone who might be interested in Research Rocket, just forward the invitation on. We would appreciate that. And we hope to see you next month. On behalf of the NewsBank team, thank you for sharing part of your day with us. We enjoyed having you.